Hey YouTube, this is Marcus with another video. In this video, I just want to take a few minutes to talk about some recent changes to the rules and regulations that govern citizens band radios in the United States. For those of you who may not have seen some of my older videos, I actually am a CB radio hobbyist. I haven't done a lot with it lately because I've been busy with other things and I haven't really had a reason to make a video about CB radios. But I do have a few on my channel about that, and I'm planning on another couple in the future showing how I've got my antenna set up at the new house here. But anyway, I'd heard 6 months or maybe even a year ago about some proposed changes to the CB radio rules and regulations. And a couple of years ago when I first got into the hobby, one of the things I really wanted to do was I really wanted to educate myself. I wanted, I love good information. I don't like taking other people's words for it, and so one of the things I did was I went to the FCC's website and copied and pasted the rules as of that time, which you can see were dated for June of 1983, and saved them to a PDF document so that I had the document on hand. So if somebody said something on the internet that didn't sound quite right, or if I was just curious about something, I had the document on hand to reference. And I was searching for something. I think I was looking for a part or something, and in the Bing search results was actually this PDF document on the fcc.gov address dated for April of this year, discussing proposed changes to the rules that govern GMRS, FRS, and CB radios. And so I got to doing a little bit more digging, and I came across this article on QRZnow.com talking about those same proposed changes. And so I said, okay, well, let's go look and see if those changes have actually been, ratified and made legislation. And so if you just look up CB radio rules and regulations FCC and you click it, the FCC website has a sort of short primer on the basic rules and regulations. But when you actually want to read the documentation and you click on Title 47, it takes you here, and then you click on Parts 80 through 199. You see here we're still on fcc.gov, but when you click this, it actually brings you to a new URL for an agency I hadn't heard of before called the Electronic Code of Federal Regulations. It's got its own little URL here. I guess it's just a sub thing of the FCC, and then you click Part 95, you scroll down till you find CB radios. Now, the biggest change that would affect me and probably most of you who are CB radio hobbyists is the change governing skip. For those who don't know, in radio communications, generally speaking, with some exceptions, but generally speaking, from 50 megahertz down, the radio signals can refract off of the atmosphere depending on, solar flare activity, weather, cloud cover. There's a lot of things that can cause it and affect it, but generally speaking, anything from 50 megahertz down can refract off the atmosphere and bounce much further than it would otherwise travel on its own. And anything above 50 megahertz, generally speaking, will just punch through and continue on out into space. And so the result is that on CB radios and, like 10 and 12 meter ham radios, and anything below 50 megahertz, if the conditions are right, your signal, instead of stopping when it runs off the curvature of the Earth, will actually, maybe hit cloud cover or the ionosphere and refract and bounce, for however long, and then maybe come down at any other place on the planet, really. And so you may find yourself sometimes on accident, I have, talking to people who are normally, under normal conditions, way outside the range of your CB radio station. There's been a couple of times that I've been sitting talking to locals and, hear a voice come on the air, and we say howdy and talk to him for a few minutes, and, a minute or two into the conversation, we comes to find out the guy's in, St. Louis or Arkansas or someplace that's way too far away from eastern Kentucky for us to be talking to him using normal ground wave propagation. And so that was, skip. And skip was illegal, and it's a big part of the hobby. If you flip your radio to 38 lower sideband, or God forbid channel 6, it's a big part of the hobby. People enjoy trying to make contact with long distance stations, oftentimes with illegal amplifiers. And if you look here in the old rules, there's actually a bullet. Let's look for the word miles. There's actually a bullet here under 95.413, bullet 9, that specifically states it is prohibited to communicate with or attempt to communicate with any CB station more than 250 kilometers or 155.3 miles away. Now, if you come over here to the new rules, you can see the first thing you notice is that the numbering is way off. So they have actually rewritten these regulations since... Oh, that's the wrong... I'm in the wrong part here. There we go. The numbering is way off. So they've obviously rewritten this since I saved this a couple of years ago. And so we scroll down here and let's find prohibited CB uses. And one bullet that you will not find is the ban on long distance communication, with the exception of bullet, where is it at? This one, bullet D as in Delta. It is still illegal to communicate with stations in other countries except for general radio service stations in Canada. So Europe, Mexico, Australia, talking to those people with skip, even if you can hear them and they can hear you just because the conditions just happen to be right, still technically illegal. But within the confines of the United States, so that's Hawaii, Alaska, probably applies to Puerto Rico and, you know, our protectorates. I'd have to scroll up and read the whole thing. And the general radio service stations in Canada, you know, you've got that whole big, you know, all of that land that you can legally shoot skip to, providing that you don't exceed the legal power limits, because the power limits have not changed. It's 4 watt mean power on the carrier in AM, and I think it's still 12 watts PEP on single sideband. I'll have to double check here. And in regards to your power, another rule that has actually been added that was not specified in the old rules is that, let me show you here. Let's look, 85%. Here we go. Now this is CB radio system modulation limits. There's a bullet in the old ones that says that it cannot exceed 100% modulation. That has been modified now so that when emission type A3E, read that as AM, is transmitted with voice modulation, the modulation percentage must be at least 85%. So they've actually added a requirement that newly licensed or newly type accepted radios not modulate at less than 85%. So that should, in theory, keep cheap, garbage, undermodulated radios from hitting the market, and should hopefully reduce the desire of, you know, backyard quote-unquote technicians from taking a pair of nail clippers to your modulation limiter and crap like that and butchering your radios. So they now require that radios be at least 85% modulation and not more than 100%. So any after these rules have been released, any new radio sold should sound halfway decent on the air. You shouldn't have a problem with your radio sounding undermodulated. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that the rules have been ratified. They are available from the FCC at ecfr.gov. If you Google it, you know, Title 47, Part 95, FCC, CB radio regulations. If you look it up on Google, Bing, or whatever, you should find it. So scroll through here, read the rules and regulations, educate yourself, know what you are and are not allowed to do. It's pretty easy to understand. It's pretty straightforward, plain English. They've removed some rules like the ban on shooting skip, you know, with some caveats. They've expanded on and changed a few rules here and there, and you may learn something that you didn't know was true. So I intend to save this to a new PDF. I'll keep the old one around just for reference purposes if I get curious. But I just wanted to bring to your guys' attention that there has actually been some ratified changes to the CB radio rules and regulations that have been in place since 1983. And if you are a GMRS or FRS user, those rules and regulations have actually been changed and updated as well. So that may apply to those of you who may not care so much about CB radio, but have, those little Walmart radios that you go buy to take on camping trips and things of that nature. So anyway, I just wanted to bring that to your attention. If you guys have any comments, questions, concerns, or suggestions, please feel free to post them in the comments section below. And as always, this is Marcus out. Y'all have a good one.